Hello guys, today I'll be ranking the live albums. Now, this is a band that I got into this year and I'm still really enjoying their music lately, and I especially songs from albums like Mental Jewelry and Throwing Copper and Secret Samadhi and some others, Birds of Prey, but yeah, I figured why not go ahead and give their albums a ranking, and I have heard all their albums in full, and I'd say I have a mostly concrete ranking here. There might be a couple albums that I might move around here and there, but that's about it. But anyways, again, we'll be going from worst to best, and at the bottom, I have songs from Black Mountain. I can't really get into this album, to be honest. Now, I wouldn't say that's unlistenable or god awful. It's just, I don't know. The album for me just lacks memorable songs, and The River is really the only song that I return to from the album. And yeah, just all around, just not that great of an album. But I wouldn't say that's bad. Then we got The Turn, which is their only album without Ed, but has the singer Chris Shin, if I got the name right. I just find this album to be kind of boring and not all that memorable, ultimately, at the end of the day. But The Way Around is Through. I think it's a decent track. I do like that song. But the album for me just lacks replay value and just, to me, isn't all not as impressive as the albums above it. But that's just me, though. But I wouldn't say that the album is bad, but I mean, the album to me just could have been a bit more interesting. But Chris's vocals, I don't mind them though overall. But next we have V or 5. Kind of like with The Turn, I return to maybe like a few or a couple songs, but while the rest of the album just doesn't really do much in terms of replay value, the album for me just isn't all that impressive or as strong as the albums above it, in my opinion. Simple Creed is probably my favorite song on the album. I think that song is pretty good, but I think the rest of the songs just don't match up to the greatness of that song. But that's just my opinion, though. I mean, Overcome and Deep Enough are a couple other songs I think are decent. I might throw like A Soldier in there too, maybe, but this album for me, just not their strongest in my opinion. Then we got the album Birds of Prey. Now, I know this album has gotten mixed reviews. In this album, you can also kind of hear a little bit of Christian rock in there, especially if you listen to a song like Heaven, of course. But, Heaven, I know it was a big song for them at the time. It was their biggest song in years. And you know what? I like that song. And I think it's one of the best songs on the album. But I'd say the first half of this album is easily stronger than the second half. The second half, for me, has tracks that are kind of weak for them, in my opinion, but I do like songs like Heaven, She, the Sanctity of Dreams. Runaway, I'm kind of on the fence about. Some things I like, some things I don't like. That song's kind of a mixed bag for me, but not bad. Life Marches On is another favorite of mine on the album, and I think Sweet Release is okay too, but again, you get to the second half and things start to get a little bit uninteresting, but She is probably my favorite track on the album, but overall, I like the album. But now we're going to go ahead and move on to The Distance Is Here. And this album is a bit more melodic, maybe a little bit experimental at times, you could say, but I think this album has some pretty strong deep cuts, or B-sides or non-singles, however you want to put it, but I really like Where Fishes Go. I think that's easily one of the best songs on the album, and kind of underrated too, but kind of different, but kind of unique on the album. And Sun is another song that I really enjoy. Of course, you also have the singles Run to the River and Dolphins Cry, which I think are also really good and some of the best songs on the album. But yeah, overall, pretty solid album, and I think it's easily one of their best. But this album and the next album honestly go back and forth for third place. Oh, and I also think that They Stood Up for Love is also a pretty good track too. But overall, again, I think it's one of their best. But next we have Secret Samadhi. Now, why this album would be maybe above Distance is here is mainly because of really tracks like Lakini's Juice and Insomnia and the Hole in the Universe and Freaks. I really like those 3 songs especially. Those songs are really a part of why I like this album maybe a little bit more than The Distance Is Here, but honestly, The Distance Is Here and this album really go back and forth. But Lakini's Juice is definitely one of my favorite live songs. I return to that song a lot, and I absolutely love the main riff, that intro, and also Ed, maybe one of his best vocal moments on this album and probably in the discography. I mean, vocally he sounds pretty dang good in this song and really point out the emotion, and this song all around is just excellent. And Century's pretty good too. I do like that song. Rattlesnake is a song that's gotten better with more listens for me. And Turn My Head is also pretty good too. I mean, as you're listening to the album, you can tell that's a bit more, I guess, dark and serious compared to the previous album, Throwing Copper. But overall, I'm liking the album the more that I listen to it. But next, we have Mental Jewelry. I really dig this album, and in this album you notice that there's a little bit of funk rock in it, and I do like when funk is infused in rock. I mean, I do like Red Hot Chili Peppers, I do like Faith No More and Primus, so this album was definitely a treat for me when I was checking it out for the first time. Some of my favorites on the album are Pain Lies on the Riverside, of course Operation Spirit is another highlight on the album. Beauty of Grey is another song that I enjoy, and Tired of Me I think is maybe one of the most underrated songs. I absolutely love the bass work in this song. This song all around is just really catchy, and again, easily one of my favorites on the album. And Waterboy's pretty good too. I like the vocals, especially in the chorus. Mirror Song and Mother Earth is a Vicious Crowd. I like those 2 songs too, but yeah, overall I think it's a pretty solid debut. You can maybe say that the album in general is kind of underrated. I mean, when it comes to this album, people mostly talk about Operation Spirit, but I think the rest of the album is also really good, especially songs like Tired of Me and Waterboy. But of course, to no surprise, at the top, we have Throwing Copper. Commercially, probably their biggest album, and understandably so, especially with hits like I Alone and Lightning Crashes, which are 2 of their best songs. But of course, you also have other great songs like Selling the Drama and All Over You. I do also really like Shit Town. That's another favorite of mine on the album. Same with Iris. But of course, White Discussion is also pretty good too. There's a lot of great tracks on this album, and I can understand why some people would say that it's maybe one of the best albums of the 90s, or at least one of the best albums in terms of 90s alternative rock or 90s rock in general. All around, definitely a classic and definitely a great album, and easily one of their best albums, and I'm sure many fans would agree with that. But anyways, that's my ranking for the band live. Let me know your thoughts on my ranking. Let me know if there are albums that you would move around in my ranking, or in general, just let me know your ranking in the comment section below and all that good stuff. But anyways, thanks for watching. Please leave a comment, like, subscribe. Have a nice day, and take care.